Hi, welcome, cup of coffee. In this episode, we're going to work on deploying RLCI to a server and then running the integration pipeline there instead of on my laptop. RLCI is an experimental CI/CD system that I'm developing using an agile approach. I document the development in the README file and also make videos about it. For more information, check out the link in the description. Let's have a look at what's needed to run RLCI on a server. When we have done some changes in the RLCI repo, we run the integrate script to integrate our changes. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So here is the branch that is executed when we run 0pi integrate. So we start by checking out the new branch. We push that branch to GitHub. Then we trigger the pipeline. That in turn, it will trigger the pipeline in the current repository. And that in turn does the following things. So in an empty workspace, it clones the repo from GitHub. It merges this branch with the main branch. It runs the build script to make sure everything works, and if that passes, it will push the new main branch. And if all of that succeeds, we will proceed here in the integrate script to check out the main branch, pull it from GitHub, and then delete this temporary branch. So what we want to work on in this session is this part right here. So this is triggering the pipeline, like invoking our CI server. But in this case, we're invoking the CI server at the current commit. So the version of the CI server is the current one. And we don't really want to do it like this. First of all, because that's not how it's going to work in the real world later on. So imagine that RLCI is running as a web app, and we can't just start up a new web app and trigger something. It doesn't work. And the second reason we don't want to do this is that here we're actually running the new version of RLCI before we have tested it. So what we really want to do here is something like so here, for example, this implies that RLCI is now installed on this system, and it's installed in this path. And we can trigger the pipeline included in that version, which will run something like this. And at the end of this, we probably also want to have some deploy script, which installs this new version at this location. So maybe something like deploy and then the current name of the commit, which we have just tested. Something like that. And if we run all of this on the same server, this deploy script will just install it, the new version here, and the next time we run it, the new pipeline will be used. And of course the next step then is to run everything on a separate CI server, not on my development machine. And what's needed for that is to, instead of doing Python, calling Python this script directly, we want to do something like SSH into a machine and run the RLCI version which is installed there. And that will also run the pipeline on that machine, installing RLCI in that location on that machine. Before we can run RLCI from an installed location, we have to install it there. And that's the purpose of the deploy script. Let's start work on that. I deploy a version of RLCI to opt RLCI. Something like that. Let's see. So we want to do deploy and then a version git hash, something like that. And we expect the following command. So how do we do a deploy to opt? So we can, one way to do it is to do it like this. So rf opt RLCI star, and then we do a git checkout, a git clone, and then the repo name. Let's see if we can find it here. Oops. Something like that, and then we want to do git check out git hash, and I think we can add a parameter to git saying something like this. I have to look that up to use that repo. So let's see, is it C? Run as if git was started in path. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let's watch that fail. Yeah, so we got the usage instead of this, so let's go ahead and add a branch for, so if this is deploy if column 1 is deploy, then we do rf let's see what we get. Yeah, so we have got that case, and then we do this, and then we do this one, and this of course is the version. So version, let's make that an F string, and version is self.args.get 2. So we can also add a check here. Let's not do that. I was thinking checking the length of the arguments, but let's not do that for now. Okay, so we have a deploy script that will deploy a version to this location. So let's see if that actually works. Deploying on my laptop. So if we do 0 deploy and then a version, let's say main. Okay. Yeah, so this was a bit surprising. I would have expected this to fail because this directory doesn't exist and my user doesn't have permission to create it. But why didn't this exit here? Why did it try to run this? Fatal, cannot create work tree directory. Or did this one succeed? What happens if we run this one? Oh, I think, okay, so this expands to nothing. Sure. And then we delete nothing. Okay. Yeah, might make sense. So let's create that directory. And let's make it accessible to my user. And now if we run this, should get the same result. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Assumes that exists. Let's just write that as a comment for now. I'm not sure if the deploy script should set up this directory as well, or just assume that the machine that we're deploying on has some basic setup and we're just going to install our application there, or rather install a new version of our application there. Okay, so let's try to run the deploy script again. Okay, so now we have a version installed here. So if we run it again, it should work. Let's try it. Okay. Why doesn't this work? I had problems figuring out why this failed. It turned out that the arm command didn't actually delete all the files in the directory. I ended up replacing the arm command with the different commands, but I'll spare you the debugging session. And okay, so now we're back. Now that we have RLCI installed in opt, we can modify the integrate script to call that version instead. So this, I want to run it from opt RLCI/RLCI. That will fail the test. Need to change it up here. So now when we integrate, we actually run the version which is installed. So I believe we can commit that. Let's see. Integrate runs installed runs currently installed version. Okay. So let's see. How can we test that this works? We can run integrate. We have a couple of changes. That are not integrated. So let's just integrate. It should run RLCI from this. So first of all, we can just make sure that this works. Yeah. So it is installed. So yeah, let's do 0 integrate. Looks like that worked fine. Now the problem is that the installed version of RLCI never changes. So let's add a step to the integration pipeline that actually deploys the newly integrated code. Let's have a look at the test first. So this part right here. By the way, these tests look a bit ugly. I'm not really sure how to make them better yet, but so I just left them for now. So let's see, down here after the build, we want to do a so let's first add this one and say, after we push the changes, let's do a deploy. Whoops. Deploy, and that would equal to this, I think. But now we also need a version, and the version should be, I think we can do something like git rev parse head to get the commit. So let's see. First of all, we need to configure some responses here. So if we do git rev parse, we should get a line containing git commit. And I think we also need to include this long piece, all of this, yeah. All of that as well. Yeah, so this, make sure that when we run git rev parse, we get this git commit output. So let's see, rev parse, let's call it right here. Git rev parse. No, git push. Why didn't that work? we get this std out as well. Yeah, that's good. So we get C. Get comment. We get that from the revparse command. No, let's see. Revparse. std out. Oh, like this. All right, and now I need to modify these to do git commit. We change this to slurp. No. Okay. We got okay, can we not do, oh, maybe we cannot do slurp. Let's see. Was that error? Yeah, that's no, okay. So let's see if we can fix that. Processing directory run. Dev slurp. Let's add it quick and dirty. Just make it work. Slurp. Turn. Yeah, so that passes. Okay, so let's see if we can clean this one up. Let's get the command. Correct command. Let's see if we can factor this out. So works. Works. Let's call it build command. Build. Maybe it's good enough. Okay. So let's look at what we've got. So we have changed the pipeline to also do a deploy. And it deploys the version that we have just integrated and pushed. So let's see if this actually works. I think it should. So add deploy step to pipeline. So now we only have one commit here. When we integrate this, this deploy step is not going to be run because we're running the currently installed version of RLCI when we integrate. only the next time or the one after that works. So let's try to integrate to see what happens. So we integrated that commit, that worked fine, and the last step of the pipeline was this right here, push. And I think what we need to do now is to manually deploy this version of RLCI, because the installed version is never going to be updated by the pipeline that is installed. So let's do deploy main. Right. And now we have installed manually this new version of RLCI, which contains a step to deploy itself when it succeeds. So to test this for real, we need to do some kind of commit. I don't think we can do integrate if we don't have any commits. Let's see. We can try to yeah. So how can we try this? Let's make a dummy change. Just add 4. Add something to the README. Something like that. Commit it. And now when we run integrate, it should also deploy the new version if it succeeds. So let's see. Yeah, so let's see. Oops. This is not what I expected. So we run rev parse, but we get the empty string back. Okay. And yeah, sure enough, it doesn't seem to log anything. Oh, it's because we need head. Need head, of course. Yeah. Okay. So that was a mistake. Let's fix that. So let's see. That's in the pipeline, right? Rev parse. So we need. This should be rev parse head. Head. Rev parse head. let's see if that works. It does. Get rev parse is head argument. Let's try to integrate that. So I'm guessing we're now doing deploys right here. But we're passing the empty string here. So I'm guessing that we're just going to check out nothing. I'm not sure. So git checkout like that. Not sure what's going to happen in deploy. Let's have a look. Yes, we're doing checkout. That should fail. Right? No? Oh yeah, we're running this as a bash script, so yeah, I probably will just do that. Right. Okay, so let's this should now be fixed, so let's make another commit to the readme, just to have something to integrate. And now when we integrate this, yeah, so we're now doing deploy with the commit, we're cloning into, and we're switching to this commit. And yeah, detached head, blah blah blah, it's okay. Head is now at integrate. Yeah. Now we have all the pieces in place to deploy RLCI to an installed location and use that version in the integration pipeline. The final step is to actually do this on a CI server instead of on my laptop. Instead of calling this, we should do something like SSH, and this is my example server that I set up, so RLCI at so this will run the same command but on an integration server. So first of all, let me just check that this is correct. So that works. And I think here I also set up this directory. So we have this directory on the server as well. And in order to be able to run it the first time, we need to install it manually. So let's do a git clone. See. Permission denied. Yeah, so, yeah, okay. I'll take a moment and try to set up these SSH keys, and I'll be back after that. Okay, so I think I've managed the permissions now. Let's have a look. Yeah, so now we're in the home folder. We have the RLCI here. And now we should be able to deploy it. So 0pi deploy and main. And now we have opt RLCI, we have it here. So now this command should work. If we run it from my machine, we SSH into the CI server and we run RLCI, we get this. So let's see if this works. So let's see, command server, let's fix the test here. This is what we added. Dun, 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 dun. Boom. So let's commit that. Let's say run RLCI on CI server. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so let's integrate and see what happens. Right, so let's see, we are running okay, let's see what's going on. So what happened here? So this is probably running on the CI server, right? Because we're doing SSH. And this script does some Git stuff. So we need to set up some identity for this. Okay. So let's SSH to this one and say git config user email RLCI what else did it want? And I guess we got this now. All right. So what happened here is, okay, we have this branch. So now we need to remove this branch manually. So this is one problem with integrate script. Like this branch remains. So we need to run these commands. These commands should really be, no matter if this passes or fails, we should always run these. But for now we need to run them manually. Let's check out the main branch. There we go. There we go. Let's try to integrate again. All right. So now we can see that this integrate commit was done by this RLCI user and done on the CI server. And also we should be able to see that yeah, we also deployed this version which the RLCI user made. So yeah, there we have it. Story complete, right? Well, the new functionality is in place and it provides real business value. But in implementing this, I did it in the quickest way possible. And I noticed along the way some problems with the design and some problems with the functionality that I ignored for the purpose of getting this working as quickly as possible. So the next step is to do cleanup and refactoring to make sure the code base is in a good state. The process of refactoring and improving design requires a slightly different mindset. So perhaps my next video will be about that in 1 week. See you.